From starting online stores to making six figures in the stock market, tell us about your journey leading up to your investing.
So my journey leading up to my actual investment first started, I guess, with the online stores. I guess very generic. I'd sort of looked online at different side hustles that you can create, ways in which you can sort of make money. And there were very common themes that sort of came up on YouTube. And these themes were Amazon FBA, dropshipping, online arbitrage, etc. And so I'd gone more down the dropshipping route to begin with. And I'd actually seen a very good return on my investment on building these stores. It could have just been luck, it could have just been the current climate. But I'd also like to sort of work with, I guess, converting data sets whereby if I was to target a certain audience, this audience would hopefully convert. And so with that capital, I carried on researching. I'd looked into other areas where I could continue to make money. Bear in mind, I was 16, 17 at the time. And so I'd come across trading, and I'd heard about trading before from family, friends, very close ones at that, who actually trade themselves. Some of them were market makers, etc. So I'd sort of been able to get a sort of non-fluff approach on the markets. And so it was actually a friend of mine who was of age to actually open an account called Joseph. And he'd opened my first ever Forex account in which I would trade on, I'd place my own trades, invest capital. And I was lucky enough never to actually sort of blow an entire account. I had significant drawdown, losing half of the account balance at times, but never actually letting the account go to zero. And so I'd always had the proof of concept that sort of the investing, trading thing actually works. And so I'd carried on trading to the point of consistency, and that's always just been in the background, something that I really like doing, I'm really happy about. And it also gives me an insight into, I guess, current market climates, etc. I don't believe in, I guess, a one-fits-all strategy. I do trade, I guess, market structure, price action. However, I like to look at the overall market at the same time. And so with that, I guess I need research into how certain economies are playing out, etc. I keep up to date with current affairs. And I guess what led me to the stock market specifically was first, after sort of, I guess, trading, etc., I'd more looked into other investment opportunities that were out there. And in looking at these, I'd wanted to go to events, I'd wanted to network with people, I'd wanted to actually have that conversation with somebody as to what can I invest in and what can I do. And this had actually led me to end up in certain MLM meetings, MLM conferences, which would promote, I guess, the idea of you'd bring somebody on and they would sort of be under you. You'd build this big ass downline and you would then earn a commission every month, every week off of this person. And I didn't believe that to be ethical whatsoever. I dealt with the risk in terms of Forex, and I know that for everyone to build consistency is not going to happen. I didn't believe in the company's products, I didn't believe in their service, and it just seemed sketchy from the very beginning. And this led me to look into ethical business practices that I could actually implement, which then led me to the stock market. After turning 18, I think August 2020, just before the COVID crash, I had invested into the stock market. I think I'd started out with dividend stocks, not really knowing what I was doing. I would sort of look at financial statements, okay, cool, company making a profit, company seems to be growing annually. And I sort of just had a judgmental analysis. It was very basic, not too in-depth. And I'd made a return. I'd made a return on investment, which was enough sort of proof of concept for me to realize that the stock market works. And I guess in believing in this, I think January, I'd started to work in finance in central London. And so I was like, okay, cool. With me starting, I guess, this new opportunity, let me invest this newfound capital back into the stock market, as I sort of had the proof of concept that it works. I guess the COVID crash really hit the stock market in March of 2020. And with me having a lot of capital to allocate to the market, this was my first ever crash. And I'd sort of had something in the back of my mind telling me that this may be the only crash that I may ever experience in my lifetime, or it could even be one of many. But what I did know is that it was an opportunity for me to pick up stocks that I'd been looking at and researching at reasonably cheap valuations, or cheap prices for the valuations that we were trading at. And so with me seeing this opportunity, I'd gone really heavy into, I guess, small cap stocks that I had high convictions in long term. And I knew that even if the market kept on dropping, kept on sort of burning, I would just hold my investment or even pick up more shares if that. And I guess it could have been luck. It could have just been the fact that I changed my trading strategy, had a newfound approach, but I'd actually had a really huge capital gain in a short period of time. In just a few months, I'd seen my investment turn from, I guess, what was a £200 portfolio, which would appear in the news article, all the way up to, I guess, more than a £200,000 portfolio. And I had actually done that by investing consistently and investing a lot of capital over time. And although this could have been luck, with me having invested in one of the most bullish markets ever, what I'd actually done was invest in an ISA. I guess I wasn't really educated in what account to open when first investing in stocks. And so I don't have the tax-free gain that an ISA has. And so what I'd done in November of 2020, I think just after the election, so just after another bullish run, was I'd started my ISA, I'd got 20K and allocated this capital to investments which I really believe in. And this investment had actually grown to a larger percentage gain in comparison to my overall general investment account, which was quite astonishing to believe that investing after a bull run, sort of in high conviction stocks, would still give me a good ROI. And so I'd sort of developed that more, okay, cool, this probably is now my conviction in stocks and isn't actually just sort of educated guess or an educated gamble. And so I'd continue to date. And right now I do have my general account. I also have my smaller ISA, which I plan to just continue to grow over time, investing in high conviction small cap companies. And I've also been opened up to the private equity world as well, whereby I can invest in startup companies and essentially watch them grow over a fixed period of time.
What did you do different that allowed you to achieve the level of success that you've seen so far?
So what I did different was essentially just, I didn't really invest in too much of the hype. I mean, I'd invested in stocks such as Tesla, for example, really early on. Virgin Galactic early on, which grew in popularity. I invested in AMC right before, I guess it rose, I think, 200% overnight. And so I think it was more just the fact that even when I'd made some of these investments, such as AMC, for example, it went against everything that I'd believed in. But when I'd initially started investing, so during the crash, I'd invested in small cap stocks, which I believe would change the world. Because prior to that, I wasn't really investing in stocks which I believed in. It was more just, okay, cool, I want a dividend payer so I could make a passive income. I didn't really see the potential of long-term capital gains. And so when I'd sort of shifted from a more generic way of investing to just create an income, to stocks that I like, stocks that I could build a conviction on, and have as many shares as possible in companies that I really believed in, that was when I'd really started to see a change and started to see very big gains in a very short period of time. There was a sense of luck with it as well. I'd invested during the COVID-19 crash, and so being able to buy stocks at such low prices and then getting such a huge bull run, there was a sense of luck. However, what I'd started to do was, after investing in my general account, I'd actually opened up an ISA, I think it was late November, and there was another dip and then there was another rise. And I'd sort of bought stocks at, I guess what you could say was the peak. And even buying at the peak and doing the due diligence that I'd done, building very good convictions and running valuations on certain companies, I'd still been able to see a gain. And the gain that I'd actually seen was actually a bigger percentage gain than what I'd seen in my general account from investing in March. From investing in November at very high levels, I'd actually seen a bigger return over the period of the next few months. And I believe right now we're going through a current correction, so my stocks are taking a hit. However, me having such long-term projections, I don't care about the short-term volatility. I can stomach all of that pain in the markets. And so I'm actually injecting more into high conviction stocks than investing in a very broad range of companies. And I believe that a lot of people like this idea of diversification. I think there's a statement by Warren Buffett that says diversification isn't really for people who know what they're doing in the markets. And I've started to really believe this statement simply because if I run a valuation on a company and I believe that it could grow X times, let's say, for example, this company can grow 10 times, why would I diversify into 5 different other companies that do the exact same thing? It shows that I don't really believe in what I'm investing in, and I'm sort of against this idea of diversification now. Right now, I currently hold 6 stocks in my ISA that I all aim to hold for the long term. Diversification, I see really being pushed by people who want to sell courses or sell you some sort of subscription. They're like, guys, you need to diversify. And for them, it's like, if one of their stocks fail, they would give you 20 stocks to invest in. If one of them fails, they don't care. You're still going to purchase that subscription every month because you would have seen some sort of gain. Whereas not diversifying, you can see much bigger gains and that's backed by your analysis, that's backed by your conviction. Whereas again, these people that want to sell you a course, it's more they have an excuse. Their excuse is that you bought into 20 different companies, half of them may fail, the other half may rise, and you're just going to hope that the other half that rise more than what it is that you've actually lost. And I think that's more the edge that I'd had, just being able to create my own conviction and create a big conviction at that.
So Adam, what type of stocks do you own and why?
So the type of stocks that I own mainly consist of small cap companies. So again, these are very sort of high risk, high reward investments. I just feel as if my risk appetite is probably the highest it could be. And so I invest in companies which some are even pre-revenue. I invest in SPACs, and I invest in companies that I believe have a lot of future potential to grow. I think pre-revenue I only invest in one company. And with that, I guess it's really risky because I'm more betting on management, betting on them actually being able to release the product or service that they aim to release. I'm looking at cash burn rates to make sure that the company aren't spending more cash than what they have available, causing them to go bankrupt before a product even releases. And so being able to factor in all of these metrics, I do a lot more due diligence in pre-revenue companies than actually revenue generating companies. And so again, just very high risk plays. But again, it's all stocks that I believe in. And with the current climate, with the current market correction, this may be the only correction that we have for years. And so I really want to concentrate my portfolio into just a few smaller stocks that I believe in long term. And I'm literally just going to ride the wave for the next few months or even for the next few years, if that.
I'm sure your parents must have seen the fruits of your labor. So how do they feel about your current levels of success?
So my parents sort of want me to play it safe. They're kind of like, okay, cool. Can you not, like, for example, my stock portfolio, with my general account sort of growing to, I guess, the multiple six figures now, they kind of want me to sort of lock in some profits and sort of just reinvest anything that is, I guess, left over after locking in, I guess, my initial investment and then some profits on top. They sort of want me to just invest profits left over, which I don't want to do. If I have a high conviction in a company, I want to invest, I want to go all in and I don't want to stop. And I guess as of right now, I've sort of had opportunities open to me whereby I can invest in private equity companies. I can invest sort of in companies whereby they don't generate revenue and potentially have a very huge capital gain on my investment. And so again, my parents are proud, very proud at that. And I think they understand what I'm trying to do. I have got a lot of money now, I guess, than what I'd ever had before. However, I'm really thinking for the long term. And so making, I guess, a couple $100,000 and maybe even getting lucky investing in one of the most bullish markets ever is all good and everything. However, I more want to have even longer term growth potential than that. I more want to go into the larger figures and just making, I guess, more sustainable wealth.
I'm sure with the level of success that you've achieved, you must have a couple haters. So how do you deal with that?
So dealing with haters, I feel like it's more an internal thing that you need to deal with. I think what you need to believe is that with the haters, it's more they are not happy with, I guess, their current situation and themselves. And so for them, hating on other people is like, it's kind of a self-fulfillment. It's a bit counterintuitive at the same time, but it's like them hating on someone else's success more helps them believe that what they're doing is okay and it's kind of the right path to do. I mean, if you've got somebody that, for example, has tried to invest in stocks, failed invested in stocks, and then some teenager, 19-year-old black kid then starts making huge amounts of money, it's kind of a situation where it's like, that must be untrue. And so I've actually had people sort of message me with, I guess, sending me pictures of George Floyd, etc., kind of asking me if I can breathe. And it's kind of like disgusting at that. But then again, it's more a thing where I've now sort of learnt not to react, only because it's another person sitting behind the screen. And no doubt they're not happy with themselves. And so hating on myself and my success for them would keep them content. And there's always going to be people like that. And so dealing with haters, it's more just a thing where you have to be able to kind of just stomach that. And I guess being in mainstream media doesn't help. Having a lot of success doesn't help. But then again, I believe that the more positive outlook on your success kind of counters that. And it's just where you want to direct your energy. Because I mean, if you read a negative comment or a negative video about yourself, that will affect you for the entire day. And so if you keep putting your energy towards that, then again, the energy will reflect on your work, on your mood, etc. And so having more of a focus on a positive outlook and the more positive energy towards you, I believe is better. So again, haters, I just think it's a more internal situation.
Relationships. Are you in one? Do you plan to be in one? And do people act differently with you being in mainstream media?
Okay, cool. So I guess with me being featured in mainstream media, what I've kind of had is a lot of people, I guess, get in contact, get in touch, which I don't have a problem with, because again, if you aspire to be in someone's position, definitely reach out and get some advice. But again, I guess growing up in school, etc., certain people that just wouldn't have cared for you then start sort of, I guess, dropping you a message, sort of checking in to see how you are, etc. And again, it's kind of cool. So you kind of get, I guess, an influx of people who may not have ever really cared for your existence before, now sort of starting to, I guess, want to sort of get in touch and maybe even hear about your story, get some advice, etc. And again, I don't think there's a problem with that. But you get to a sense of sort of fake love. And I guess you just need to be able to differentiate the two. So when you're sort of getting fake love from someone, then when you're getting sort of an actual interest, put your energy towards what you think is more real, I would say. When it comes to relationships, no, I'm not in one. And do I plan to be in one? Not for the near future anyways. I mean, should I ever have the opportunity to sort of like vibe with someone, the vibe is good and sort of I'm good for them as much as them being good for me, then I would definitely pursue the opportunity. Otherwise, I wouldn't really want to force anything. I'm not actively looking for a relationship. As it stands, I mean, I've got certain businesses that I want to start. I've got a whole dropshipping store that I'm converting into a retailer. I myself have studies, other businesses which I want to run, trading, investing. I feel like I'm only at the very infancy of where I plan to be over the next 5 years. And getting in a wrong relationship, whether that be a friendship or even an actual relationship, could sort of, I guess, slow down the rate in which that infancy then grows into being either a full-fledged business or just something bigger than where it is currently.
At such a young age, how have you got yourself involved in private equity?
So private equity is simply just a thing whereby there are requirements, and the requirements are set up by the FCA. And the FCA, I think, have requirements so that you are a high net worth investor, and to qualify, you need either, I think it's 250k in assets or 100k a year salary. And so I've managed to match these requirements. And so I've actually made my first private equity investment, and I have already recorded a video on this investment and sort of talking about my journey into private equity. I make the investment live into the new company that I've invested in. And so, I mean, like and subscribe to the channel, and that will be coming out very soon.
I'm sure you've seen the recent popularity in crypto, and we're just wondering if you've got yourself in crypto at the moment, or if you've invested yourself.
Yeah, so crypto I have invested in. In fact, I've actually recently, I guess a few weeks ago, I'd sold out of the majority of my crypto positions. Again, what kind of happened with me was that I was buying crypto in early sort of 2020. And so buying at very low prices and then seeing, I guess, certain currencies like Bitcoin rise to even 8K. I was selling Bitcoin at 8K when people were, I guess, just buying into it before it got its, I guess, immense hype. I really like crypto. Again, I love the concept of it. A lot of gains to be made. And so I do invest in crypto. I think the only coin that I currently hold is Ethereum, only because sort of running the metrics on crypto, I find it hard to value a currency, especially cryptocurrency, with there not being much third-party information. I mean, with stocks, we have audited accounts, quarterly earnings, etc. With crypto, I guess when I looked at Ethereum, I'd looked at the amount of wallets which were newly holding crypto, the amount of sort of investor capital that had gone into Ethereum. And so looking at, I guess, more wallets and more interest and more demand for the currency, it made me just want to purchase and be more of a long-term holder.
What do you believe drove people to choose cryptocurrency over investing in the stock market?
So I believe it was, I would say Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin. One thing that I believe with, I guess, cryptocurrency in the stock market is they're both really good investments. My preference, I guess, would probably be the stock market simply because I can build a very strong conviction. I can use, I guess, third-party accounts, whether that be audited accounts. I can use quarterly financial statements. We've got analyst reports, etc. And we have, I guess, similar things for crypto. Analysts may speak on a certain currency and sort of price in where they believe it to be over the next few months to a few years. And the reason why I say Bitcoin is because I feel as if people look at the monetary value rather than the percentage gain. And so after seeing Bitcoin go from however many pounds to reaching, I believe it was 50k USD in a matter of years, people would look at that and be like, I want to find the next one. And there's not a problem with that. However, I just want to look at things from more an investor standpoint and to more build a conviction and to run reports whereby I can sort of price in where the price of a stock should be if certain targets are hit. But with crypto, looking at the monetary value, it's kind of like, okay, cool. If I can buy this coin at £1, and if it's the next Bitcoin and it turns into a 50k sum, that just seems a lot more attractive. And even with Bitcoin, I mean, the rise of Bitcoin going from, I think, 3,000 all the way to 50 within the same year, there are stocks which beat that on a percentage gain. But again, people looking at it from a more monetary value point of view, it's more, okay, cool, the bigger numbers are in Bitcoin, whereas the bigger percentage gains could be found anywhere. And they could even be found with certain altcoins. Certain altcoins may have a much bigger percentage gain than Bitcoin, but people would be more attracted to Bitcoin than some other altcoins just because of the fact that it could be the next Bitcoin.
Along your journey, have you made any regrets?
So regrets, I would say there's a few, but I couldn't class them as a regret. I guess every sort of step of the journey, even with it being a negative one or a bad one, is more a good one. I mean, if I was to go back in time and someone was to ask me, if you could change anything about your journey, would you? I'd probably say no. Every person that I've met, I'm thankful for. Every opportunity that I've had, whether it be a good or bad one, again, I'm thankful for. But one of my biggest regrets, I would say, is, I guess, sort of giving too much. I know there's a saying that it's like, sort of, what can you bring to the table? And I feel like with me, I like to sort of provide value and a lot of it. And so certain business ventures that I've started with, like groups of friends, etc., I just feel as though I'm sort of giving more than receiving, and there's not an equal value in terms of the whole group structure. And with me, it's like, if we make a profit, I want to do 50-50 on the profit split always. And so with me always wanting to sort of be fair with everything, I feel like some people can take advantage of it. And I think in business, knowing when you're being taken advantage of is really important, as I don't know, it can lead you to sort of think about things and again lose trust. And I've lost a lot of trust on the way from friends that I've had friendships with for years. Again, in sort of an instant, I've lost trust for. And that may be with, I guess, making certain amounts of money, dealing with clients and them sort of wanting to exploit clients and me being on a completely different vibe. It's sort of a thing where learning when you're being taken advantage from is key, and sort of being able to eliminate it as early on as possible again is key, whether that be with friends, family, business partners, employers, etc. is definitely key.
Do you have any advice for people getting into trading stocks or starting a business?
So with both trading stocks, starting a business, I would say initially focus on either or. So with me, I guess I sort of started my online businesses when I was really young. So again, 15, 16, then sort of grew them throughout the years. Then went on to trading, then went on to the stocks. And so by sort of having this, I guess, ideal timeline in which I'd sort of started my businesses, I'd been able to sort of really focus in on one. And I don't think that there's any sort of rush to the top, rush to make money. And when you actually start sort of making money, you don't feel like you're in competition with anyone. So by just focusing down on sort of one income stream and then growing that out to its fullest, or even to, I guess, a position whereby you're complacent and whereby you're happy with the amount that it's grown, and then going on to the next, I believe is probably the perfect way to approach being able to pick up a new skill. Again, for advice, if you do wish to go into stocks, if you wish to be, I guess, grow to be some sort of expert, I would say do aim to pick individual stocks and sort of more focus on your research and how you're building your conviction for your investment. And then again, if you just want to have some sort of investment in the stock market, if you don't wish to be any kind of expert and you simply just want a consistent return year on year, then go into indexes like the S&P 500.
What can we be expecting from you over the next coming months?
So over the next coming months, again, I guess I'm building one of my dropshipping stores into a retailer. Again, still picking stocks, etc. So what I might actually do is sort of publish my conviction and sort of maybe even create videos with this whole YouTube channel and stuff as to why I'm investing in certain stocks, or even just my thoughts about current affairs, etc. Apart from that, I think most of my businesses will continue to be quite private. And so again, I guess this YouTube channel is something that will be public. There are a few causes in which I'm actually driving forward. So right now I'm actually an ambassador and an investor into a new sort of schooling system, more for creative learning. And so I will sort of start pushing that out into the public, so sort of people can either get involved investing into it or even just take part in sort of helping out where possible, because this is something that I believe in fully. And so apart from creating new content, etc., I'd say that's about it. I may try and document more of my journey and publish it online on the YouTube channel. So again, like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully we'll have more videos coming out soon.